especially with rebuilding the community. Whoever you are, if you're seeking to maybe follow the general instructions that I've given in terms of rebuilding a community, there are warnings that you should be aware of. All right, so the first warning is keep your group of people small. Okay, so if you look at what I've been talking about, the first level of rebuilding the community is rebuilding the family. So the family is a group of people, and that must sort of be somewhat independent. I like to say interdependent. It has to be separate but connected to other families. Okay, it has to be influenced by what other families do, but not directly affected by them, just influenced. All right, so it has to sort of separate, operate as a separate entity, but still be influenced by what other families are doing within the neighborhood. All right, so that's a family. From there, then it has to then connect with other families within the neighborhood to create the community. And that connection is that collaboration that allows for the influence due to the health of the relationship. Now, if you look at that natural model, a small group connects to this another small group, and they form a larger group. But that larger group is not a single homogeneous group. It is still a set of multiple groups simply connected. So you can't really call it a single entity per se. It's not a single entity. It's just many entities working together. Okay, and this is what you have to be careful of. Do not, if you're trying to rebuild your community, organize yourself in such a manner that you identify yourselves as a single homogeneous group. Okay, when you do that, you undermine uh, your your natural ability to maintain healthy relationships because there's just too many people involved. And a human being is naturally limited in how many people they can know simultaneously. Another warning I'd like to give you is you need to reframe your understanding of leadership, your understanding of what a leader is, okay? And you need to reframe this understanding not just as an individual, but as a collective of, of you and the people that you organize with, okay? So what is a leader? A leader is a person whom the group sends forth to to uh, to conduct or to do a task, to undertake a task. That's what a leader is. All right. Now you need to understand that leadership requires a hierarchy, and because it requires a hierarchy, it means that it requires people to sort of submit themselves to another person who would be the leader in that case. Okay. Now this makes leadership evil. And remember, I mentioned that evil is most useful when it is temporary, when it is when it is only conducted for a short period of time. So if you look at what I've just said a leader is a person whose authority is valid only for the uh, duration during which they undertake that task. Once the task is done, that person reverts to being an equal amongst equals. Okay, so a leadership position is never meant to be permanent. It's never meant to be, you know, um, perpetual. All right. Now the mistake that people make because they don't understand this is that they set up their organizations as hierarchies. And in these positions, you have, the organization itself, the integral to the organization is a hierarchy where you have leadership positions. Now, this invariably uh, makes the relationships that are fostered by the organization unhealthy because you have people that are under you who sort of submit themselves to you. Now, these unhealthy relationships become grounds to fester corruption, right? They become weak points for the organization because they become points of corruption, right? Because people naturally develop resentment as time goes on, and the longer it is that they submit themselves to someone, even if they do so willingly. So, the mistake that we make, as I've mentioned, is we don't understand what leadership is properly. How we're supposed to understand it is, as I've said, where this person is given a task to do because they are the best person to do it in terms of their skills and amplitude and whatever. Okay, and then they are given subordinates to assist them in doing this task, together with resources that they will need to do the tasks or the task. That's what a leader is. Now that leader has authority over those people and the resources, but only for that specific duration of time it'll take to complete the task. All right. Now we have, as I've explained, over time, I think knowledge was lost. A lot of ignorance sort of developed in people, where we started to attach to those people that are sent out a certain level of superiority. Okay. And, and I probably, the story is probably more complicated than that. But just to simplify it, um, uh, really the main problem of corruption and sort of leaders' sense of superiority is the main problem is us giving it to them, because there's fewer of them than us. All right. And also the fact that because of our ignorance, we have we have lost touch of who we really are relative to these leaders. And therefore, we all now vie against one another to become them, when we are actually greater than them. We are the ones that make them, we are the ones that send them. They are using our resources and so on and so forth. All right, so in conclusion, if we rebuild a community as I've stipulated, being cognizant, being careful of the warnings that I've given, okay, we should be able to bring back order that is sustainable, that benefits all men and women. We should be able to bring back the body of the community, to sort of heal the body of the community, so that the spirit can also be healed. Okay. The problem now is that the body of the community is too big, because the people that are in charge of our community don't even live in our communities. And I'm not even talking about councillors, they're not in charge. The people that are in charge, the bosses of the councillors, are far away in some other town somewhere, and they deliberate decisions in parliament, which many of us have never even been there. Okay? So essentially what I'm trying to say is our societal structure is bloated. The body is way too big, even though it's the minority of people that are in charge of that body, because the body is made up of them, but their authority, their rule of law is national. Okay, this is a problem. This is why the country is ungovernable. It's not because these people are corrupt. It's because the nature of the structure itself is corrupt. It just goes against the laws of nature. To be corrupt really is to just simply to go against the laws of nature. Okay, so which means everything else that comes out of that corruption is natural, because to go against the rules of nature is to naturally then go down a path that leads to corruption and theft and crime and so on. All right, all those things are symptoms of the root cause, which is that the structure itself are corrupt. But we are misled into thinking we should blame individuals and blame sort of organizations. No, it's entire societal structure, meaning it is us, not even the structure. I don't want to talk about a structure. We are the structure. Our division, our non-unity. We are the structure. Our non-unity is the structure that that facilitates everything we see around us that we're not happy with, the littering, the poverty. We are the ones facilitating that. It's not the corrupt politicians, because we facilitate them too, by the way, because they're able to maintain their positions by misleading us through information and causing us to keep on fighting one another. Putting the relationship at the center of our perspective of the world as the most important thing. The most important thing, to respect the relationship. When I mean the relationship, I mean any and all individual relationships you share with people, with specific people. Okay, when that's what I mean by the relationship. I mean all relationships. I mean that relationship, that one relationship, and all other relationships. But I'm just generalizing and just calling all of them the relationship. Okay, so if we do that, everything else will fall into place. Literally everything else. If we decide to respect one another, to to do good by the relationship, to do right by the relationship, meaning we behave in ways that build relationships rather than destroy relationships. And we try to be, and we become consistent in that behavior. Everything else will fall into place. Um, that is given the fact that we're cognizant and we're educated on the limitations thereof. You can't just go around setting up positive relationships with just everybody. There is a limit, guys. There is a limit. Okay? And there are specific ways that we are to expand if we are to expand as human beings. All right, so we have to be educated on the limitations posed by nature as to how many people we can actually know, and therefore to respect those limitations so that our relationships and our communities remain healthy. Okay, this is the only way. There is no political solution. There is no economic solution. There is no intellectual solution. This is a spiritual issue. Well, everything I've said here is spiritual. In fact, everything that exists is spiritual. Everything, even the economy, is spiritual. Money is spiritual. Not money itself, but the what drives it. Because what spirituality, or the spirit, or the spiritual world drives everything, because everything comes from there. Well, everything comes from there. So this is a spiritual issue. You're not gonna intellectualize yourself out of it. You're not gonna come with some kind of scheme that's gonna now fix families. Okay, you can come up with a scheme, but that scheme basically has to put the relationship at the center of everything. This is not a suggestion. In my opinion, it's not a suggestion. This is the ultimate requirement. We have to begin respecting the relationship in the home first, then between families, thus in the community second. Everything else will fall into place.